Hi, and welcome to the Brisbane Professionals Podcast. This is a podcast brought to you by SMS Law, going through the legal secrets that will benefit you and your clients, as well as having a little bit of fun as we go. This podcast is designed to educate you on, number one, complicated legal terms that we will explain in an easy to understand manner. Two, to understand why you do things from a legal perspective in your business. And three, to help you develop a plan for the future success of your business. Our mission is to help empower small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time that it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. This podcast is all about empowering you and your business with knowledge and tools to ensure that that doesn't happen to you or to your clients. Let's begin, shall we?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Brisbane Professional Podcast. My name is Craig Mason. Hello to our listeners, and Jeremy Stretton is also joining me today, as always. Please say hello to everyone. Jeremy.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having an awesome day.
Hello to you. No doubt we are having an excellent day. Even better when you've tuned into the Brisbane Professional Podcast. All right. Today we want to talk about buying property, specifically residential property. So you're operating your business, you're doing pretty well, and you want to make an investment, and you decided to buy some residential property. So that's how it sort of fits in the life cycle of the business, where you're investing in property. So it's pretty exciting times. You do want to get it right, however. At the moment, the market's pretty strong. So there's definitely some things you need to consider before you go out and buy residential property. So Jeremy, what are the types of things that we think you need to be considering before you go out and buy the property?
Yeah, and that could be a list that we could do a 3-hour podcast on that, couldn't we? Of all the things that people need to be aware of. So I'll keep it succinct. And really on the legal side. So what to consider is really around, what are you buying and what's the value of what you're buying? Is it good value? Craig said, we're recording this and it'll go live in late 2021. And the market has been, red hot for at least the last year. So you've got to make sure that what you're buying is actually worth what it's selling for, and that you can justify the price. But from a legal perspective, probably the biggest thing to just consider is, when you're investing in property, what's the entity that you're buying it in? So, buying it in your own name versus buying it in a company name. If you've got a trading business, you should never, ever buy property that's an investment in the same entity that the business trades in. It should always be a separate entity, and you should avoid buying property in your own name wherever you can. I personally don't believe in negative gearing, except in circumstances where you think you're going to get a big return. So I don't see any real reason to invest in your own name, in the context that we're talking about, especially. So you need to really think about those things, and then you've got to also just look at the property and look at how old is it? Are there improvements on it? Have all the approvals been put in place? Something that we've seen time and time again in Southeast Queensland, especially, is buildings have been constructed and then improvements have been made and no approvals been obtained for that property. And so you've got to make sure that everything's approved in the property. So as I said, we're going for 3 hours, all the things that we could consider, but they're probably the main three ones, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then once you've considered what property to buy, just you need to do your figures, work out that you can afford it, it fits into what you're looking for. So the sorts of costs that you need to be aware of when purchasing a property. This is all based in Queensland, but generally it's similar. There is stamp duty that needs to be paid on buying a property in Queensland. And it's not, it's quite high. I think most people would probably describe it as. So think about the stamp duty costs, registration fees for the transferring of the property into your name, conveyancing fees. So the conveyancer that handles the transaction for you will be charging. There's also all the searches that need to be done. So when you're purchasing a property, a number of searches are done as a due diligence check to make sure it's the actual property, that the seller owns it, that there's no encumbrances on the property, easements, those sorts of things, that it's not contaminated land, various searches that different authorities charge you for. So you've got to be aware of those costs. If you are, you don't pay a real estate agent commission because that's the sale, but you might be engaging, for instance, a buyer's agent to find a property, and they're going to charge you for that as well. So there are some costs you need to be aware of when you're doing your numbers. Make sure you take those into account so it fits into your investment strategy. And then once you've sort of got the property, what are the other future expenses, Jeremy?
Well, there's the obvious ones, which are the upkeep of the property and maintenance and upkeep of the fixtures and fittings, and buildings age and things go wrong, so you got to do repairs on them as they're going. There's the council rates stuff that is an ongoing water usage, all those things. Probably the one that's missed the most by investors is land tax. So if you own a certain amount of property over a certain value, then the government charges you a land tax that can be quite steep depending on your investment and how many you've got and what you're charging as rent and all the rest of it. So you need to be aware of that and make sure that you're getting advice around what that amount's going to be going forward, so that you can make sure that you cover it. So they're the main future expenses, Craig. So the last question really is, for our listeners who are looking at buying property, at what point should they seek legal advice?
Yeah, as we always say, very important to get the advice, and would be saying seek it definitely before you sign the actual contract. So you can look for a property, talk to real estate agents, etc., and find property you're interested in. But before you actually sign the contract is when you should be seeking legal advice. As Jeremy mentioned in the first one, the other things you need to consider is the entity that you're buying it in. So with that, you'd be seeking accountant's advice about the best entity to buy it in. So you'd be doing that prior to even having a contract drawn, because the contract will have the buying entity on there. So you don't want that to be the wrong entity, because you're just going to have to get it changed. And if you sign the contract, then there's all sorts of other complications. So don't do that. Get the advice early where you can. Jeremy, so that's buying residential property. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think we've covered enough for our listeners today.
Indeed. As we said, exciting times buying property, but there are some pitfalls you need to be aware of. So get the advice and definitely consider the things we've spoken about today. So thanks for joining us today. Please remember to like the SMS Law Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter and search for us on LinkedIn. That's Jeremy and myself separately. The profiles on LinkedIn. If you do feel special for today, if you want to rate and review the podcast, please do so. Any reviews or ratings are appreciated. 5 stars even more so. We share other information throughout the time in between podcasts, so check that out. And if you've got any questions or any topics you want us to cover in the podcast, please let us know. Get in touch. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.